Why should tweeters be at ear level? Well, this question is a good one, and it comes from Craig in Thornton, Colorado. It's just down the street from us. Craig writes, why would I want my tweeters at ear level? No one speaks out of a tweeter. Few sing out of one. The majority of music comes from the midrange. I have the space between midrange and tweeter at ear level. It's delightful, whether listening to music or using home theater. It seems to me the tweeter and the woofer highlight and enhance the sound coming out of the midrange. And what Craig is basically saying is that the most important part is the midrange, and he's not entirely wrong. If you look at a spectral analysis of music, it's very highly skewed and the 500 hertz range in what we would refer to as the mid-range, the lower mid-range, from 500 hertz on up. And indeed, my voice, the majority of instruments, they don't play out of tweeters. I mean, a cymbal does, but in general, that is absolutely accurate. And so the quick answer to that is that it isn't always necessary to have your ears right here at tweeter level. A lot of it depends on how the speaker is designed. So speakers differ greatly. Designs of speakers, philosophy of speaker design, all very different. Some speakers are designed to be straight on and no toe in, so that the off-axis response, in other words, on-axis being pointing directly at it, off-axis not being off the axis of the speaker, that's how you want to listen. That's how they were designed to listen. Others want that laser beam focus going right to those ears. And that just depends on how the designer did it. So your speakers, Craig, may well be such that you don't want them directly at your ear. But technically speaking, the tweeters have very short wavelengths, And because of that, if that wavelength isn't on axis with your ear, then its sound, because of that short wavelength, is going to miss your ear. And as we know, sound diminishes rather quickly, exponentially, from distance, right? So if it's, well, let's put that another way. Let's say that the lower the frequency, the longer the wavelength. So if you have a wavelength that's 3 feet long, 2.5 feet long, well then whether you point it at your head or you don't doesn't really matter, because with a long enough wavelength, even how wide is my face? I don't know, a foot? Is it a foot? No. 10 inches? Even one that big, even if it goes off a little bit in either direction, you still have a lot of energy there. But if you have 1/4 inch or less than a fraction of an inch wavelengths, then when it's not pointed at your ear, you're not getting the on-axis response, and the farther away you are from that, the lower the level is going to be. So depending on how the designer designed them, how they were set up, and how everything else is working is going to determine a lot about whether or not those tweeters have to be at ear height or not. As we are designing our own speakers, one of the things we did is we did this. Sitting in a chair, sorry, Ohm's Law listeners, I always forget. I'm sitting in a chair right now when I say this. And we measured the height from the floor to my ear in a normal seated position. I don't remember what that is. I don't remember. You can do the experiment yourself. And that's where we placed the tweeter on our cabinet in the new PS Audio loudspeakers, the AN series. Now we did that because you want the tweeter to be as close to pointing at the person's ear level, height-wise as possible, for that very reason that I described to you with the shorter wavelengths. And that said, Everybody's a different height. Your chair, we can't determine what level your chair is going to be at. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, that we often have speakers that we recommend tilting forward or tilting back, because that's getting the tweeter on or off axis and makes it hotter in the treble region or less hot in the treble region. That's why we recommend sometimes putting a CD case or two behind your loudspeaker to point it down at you, or in the front to tilt it back just a little bit. And the differences are stunning, are absolutely huge when you do that. I mean, the imaging changes, everything changes, because you're no longer on axis pointing straight at your ears. And that's just in one dimension, one vertical dimension. The horizontal dimension, the dispersion that goes horizontally, is also important, as we had mentioned as well. So there is no clear-cut reason other than, in general, because the wavelengths are so short, you want to make sure that somehow you're able to get close to your ears. Otherwise, it's going to be problematic when you're playing music. So I'm glad you found a place that works perfectly for you, Craig. And hey, man, if you're in Thornton, come by and visit us. We'd love to have you by. Okay, thanks. Appreciate the question, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.